There are some stories that can never be told. This is one of them.
The assumption was that all of the people that were there, you were guilty if you had been identified as someone that was anti-revolution. So then they tortured, electric shock, beatings, waterboarding, to get confessions. And if you were brought in, it was you and your whole family. And the people doing this torturing, the people bringing you in, were 10 to 12, 14-year-old children with AK-47 guns.
We say the number 6 million in the Holocaust. We say an entire population, an entire faith. But the numbers are so big, and the stories are so far away, and the names in some ways are so foreign to us. And until we actually hear that individual story, we don't realize that it's not about a number.
We need to go down to the shop and get that inspection too.
Oh, yeah?
So if you want to do that, we can do that.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why we do that? Yeah.
We'll do it all.
Yeah.
We'll do it all.
Will that within an hour or 2 hours limit? Because we have another event this afternoon. I have to change.
For me?
No, for me.
Oh, for you? What do you need?
I have to change into a business suit. I want to make myself more presentable.
He has to go to another event this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
Not that I'm not presentable.
We'll do whatever you need to do, yeah.
But if you go to this, will that be
I can do
within?
that when we get through. We don't have to do that with them.
Well, but they want to see the whole thing.
Okay, we can do it.
But can we do it within 2 hours?
Yeah.
All right. That
Yep.
was my question.
Okay, we can do it. We will do it. We can make it if I drive. I don't know if we do it if you're driving.
You cannot drive over the speed limit. Otherwise, I cite you. I can write you a ticket. You have the car key?
Yeah.
Where you keep the car, Jerry? Oh, right here. All right. Okay. 9130. 9130 in service, batch number 9112 and 9271. She didn't respond.
Still learning his way around here.
This is your neighborhood. I get lost in San Antonio all the time. She did not know. I could escape from Cambodia through the jungle, but I got lost in San Antonio.
Yes.
Yeah, Sichan means a beautiful moon because I was born under the full moon. Yeah, and so we have a sort of a tradition of looking at the full moon, and we believe that when people look at the same moon, the same full moon, you are connected spiritually. I grew up under heavy French influence. France was the mother country. Everything was from France, for France and of France, until 1953, when Vice President Mrs. Nixon came to visit. Then our teachers told us that there was another country, much bigger and farther away than France, called United States of America. My mother brought me up in a very traditional way. She told me to never give up hope, no matter what happens. And hope kept me alive in some of the most difficult circumstances.
America was trying to pull out of Vietnam, we started to use Cambodia as a place to keep the enemy from running into, from essentially seeking sanctuary. And in 1971, when President Nixon came into office, he accepted the requests of the United States military to do everything we could to keep the enemy from running into to another country, which was essentially a sovereign nation. And the United States did not have permission to go into Cambodia, but we did it anyway. I contend, and there is among historians we argue about these kinds of things, but I contend that by dropping those bombs on the villages in Cambodia, we set up a situation where it was ripe for revolution. And an organization called the Khmer Rouge came into power by getting the people in the villages to support them.
Yeah, my brother-in-law was head of the national intelligence, and he asked me to help translate some of the captured documents from the Khmer Rouge and the Viet Congs and the North Vietnamese into English. And I saw some very, very cruel scenes described in those documents. So I, during the time immediately after the war ended, I say the war ended because there was really no winners, no loser. It's only everybody was a loser. The people were sort of in a state of euphoria because the war has ended. We have gone through a number of years of war and killings and death and destructions. So everybody was just so excited to see the end of the war. But the end of the war doesn't mean that it's the beginning of peace. And I had that reservation because of the documents that I have read.
The crowds of Americans and other foreigners lined up at installations around Saigon waiting for buses was the cue. It told the Vietnamese that this was the end of the line. For most of those who wanted to leave their country, this would be their last chance.
Then in 1973, America pulls out of Vietnam. But by that time, the Khmer Rouge had gained a foothold in the villages all around the main capital of Phnom Penh. Essentially, the Pol Pot Khmer Rouge came to power and were able to force the Cambodian people out of Phnom Penh, take the country back to what they call take it back to zero, and start an agrarian economy. And that agrarian economy, the plans were to turn it into, to essentially get rid of all of the powerful elites.
My mother was a very devout Buddhist. She said that we must have done something bad in our previous life. That's why we are suffering this. And I sort of told her gently, but everybody is suffering it. So it's just the misfortune that our society is experiencing. And we were in a situation where you could not really think straight because nobody has ever seen this kind of happening before, not anywhere in human history. You look through the whole history of humankind, there was not a society that killed their own people, not like what the Khmer Rouge did to the Cambodians. We were sent to build a dam about 2 hours by foot away from our village. We had to sleep there because it took a lot of time traveling back and forth. And then one day we were asked to go back to the village. And my brother, my sister were taken away to a meeting. The word meeting is the code word for execution. Later on we learned. So I decided to leave because sooner or later they would find out that I work for an American organization. And that would be putting my whole family in jeopardy. So my mother gave me her wedding ring. a scarf, and a bag of rice, and told me to run. No matter what happens, never give up hope. So I rode a bicycle for 3 weeks, crossing Cambodia, using fake passes and false excuses, getting through the checkpoints. I was captured early June 1975 near the Thai border. Then they were going to send me to death because they suspected that I was trying to cross the border to Thailand, which was exactly my intention. But the truck driver whom I had met a few days before saved my life. He told the Khmer Rouge that I was an innocent person traveling around looking for my family. So for the next year, I was put in forced labor camps. The whole country was turned into a huge labor camp. We were forced to work 18 hours a day. We were given a bowl of rancid soup. At night when I went to sleep, I never knew if I would be alive the following morning. When I woke up, I said I would make it to freedom. So when the opportunity arrived on February 13, 1976, I was alone at the back of the timber truck. Normally, there was a Khmer Rouge soldier with an AK-47 and another one staying in behind on the logger. But that time, only one of them came, the soldier. He was sitting with the driver, and I was alone at the back of the timber truck. So see, he took a shower, and then he put his khmer, his scarf, over the rear mirror. So he couldn't see. He wanted to drive his scarf by the time he got back to the village. So he put it tied over the rear mirror. And of course, he couldn't see what happened in the back. And I said, this is now or never. So I couldn't jump to the left because the driver would have seen me. I jumped to the right. The driver would have seen me if the scarf flapped a little bit, and he had a peek through the mirror. So what I did, I crawled on top of the timber all the way to the back and just dropped myself. I was caught on a piece of lumber, and I was dragged for a few hundred yards before I was flung off and began to run, to crawl, to walk, to swim for 3 days, having nothing to eat. So that may be divine intervention. And I had nothing to guide me except the sun, the moon, and the stars. I said earlier, I want to make sure that if I could see the sun would be behind me in the morning and in front of me in the afternoon. And it happened to be during the full moon. So of course, after the sun down, the full moon came up. The same thing, the full moon should be behind me early evening and in front of me later in the morning, or later at night or early in the morning. I fell in a booby trap which wounded me, but I was able to pull myself out and leave it alone until I get to Thailand. Because there was no border sign, I just sat there and listened to the loudspeakers in Thai and Khmer, and I was just so puzzled. I said, if I were in Cambodia, why did they speak Thai? And if I were in Thailand, why did they speak Khmer? But just like many communities along the borders, the two cultures sort of overlap. Then I came upon a farmer, and I asked him if I were in Thailand or Cambodia, and he spoke to me in Cambodian. He said, you are in Thailand. I said, why do you speak to me in Khmer? He said, because I was born in Cambodia, and everybody around here speak Khmer. And that's how I got to Thailand.
What did you think about your family at that point? Did you have any hope that they would?
I was just hoping to be able to see them again, but the hopes began to fade away as people who came after me was telling. And I saw that, I was there for a year. And little that I know that they were killed shortly after I left. My relief was that my mother, my sister, my brother didn't have to suffer too much. Yeah.
Cambodia attack from here. This is một tỉnh biên chào đón an phú province. Chào đón all looking here and then. All of you can see some picture here after they attack Bachuk village here.
You can read about this in a book, you can see pictures, but somehow when you're standing there and realize that this is a person who went through these terrible, terrible experiences, they'll never forget that. They'll never forget it. There is always a romantic notion about warfare, and so when we take students to Vietnam, where all these things happen, and then we take them to Cambodia, they see the real impact of war.
There's a huge advantage to being in a place like that and feeling it rather than just looking at the pictures online or through books and reading about it. I think you gain more of an understanding by actually being there and seeing it firsthand.
I'll give a little bit of background on the prison itself. Everyone can hear me, yeah? Okay. So Tuol Sleng is also known as S21. It was a secret prison located in Phnom Penh, and it was a microcosm of terror, paranoia, and brutality that took place across the country under the reign of the Communist Party of Kampuchea from April of 1975 to January of 79. Most prisoners at S21, they were held there between 2 to 3 months. Almost all of them were taken for interrogation. The torture system was designed to make prisoners confess to whatever crimes they were being charged with by their captors, which was usually espionage or something made up. Most of them were innocent.
What a lot of people think of genocide, they think of numbers, not actually what is happening, not the thought process behind the killings. It doesn't matter if it's, 50,000 people or 2 million people. I mean, if it's systematic killing of people because you don't either agree with what they think, how they look, if they wear glasses, if they're educated, if they're not, if they have, mental issues, that's a genocide right there, especially if it's another ethnic group or something like that. I mean, whenever we start talking about genocide, like I said, people really think about numbers. And they said it has to be, in the hundreds and thousands or millions for it to be a genocide. It's like, no, it just has to be a targeting killing of this group. So you really got to look at it in that scope instead of, a numbers scope and an analytical scope. So I think when people start looking at it like that, when I start looking at it like that, you start seeing it a lot more around the world.
They moved people into Tuol Sleng prison that were considered to be anti-revolution. The businessmen, the doctors, the educated people. In fact, at one time it was a matter of if you wore glasses, you were assumed to have been anti-revolution. Then they tortured people. And in terms of numbers, I believe the numbers that I've heard is about 26,000 people were moved into Tuol Sleng prison over a period of about 3.5 years.
Going into those cells and them actually having pictures of the people they found in those cells, the iron bed there without the mattress, and they still had the chains and shackles there.
This was a school. This was a place of education and where people wanted to be, and now it's been turned into 5 buildings of confinement and torture, like almost a hallowed ground in a sense.
I think it's important for my generation, not everyone can afford or everyone can be able to go and see all that stuff because, it is halfway around the world. But I think people to learn about it and read up on it and everything and see the evils of what was done there and done around the world, that's really important because I bet, half of my generation, if not more, you talk to them and be like, yeah, you know what happened in Cambodia? They'd be like, no, what happened? I know it's a country all the way around there. Some may not be able to point it out on a map. If you ask them to, if you didn't have little names on them, say, where's Cambodia? They would have no idea. So, I think on a grander scheme of things, along with the genocide, it's just, not a cognizant view of the world.
You are standing at a grave where 450 bodies were found. A few steps away is a line of flowering trees that marks the boundary of the actual killing field. This is where the graves are. What you see here today is nothing compared to the horrors found by those who first discovered this place. The stench was unbearable. The graves were mounds, like infected sores, covering the earth. They had swelled as gases were released by decaying bodies. Some graves had cracked open, revealing dreadful sights. Some of the pits are now just shallow depressions in the ground. They mark the pits of the mass graves. They are empty now. When one member of a family was murdered, all the rest were often killed too, so no one would be left alive to seek revenge. Of all the graves here at Cheung Ac, this may well be the most difficult to think about. The victims who died here were women and children, more than 100 of them. Babies died here too. Many were killed before their mothers' eyes. Do you see that big tree nearby? It is called the killing tree. Soldiers grabbed babies by their legs, smashed their heads against it, then tossed them into the pit. Under Pol Pot, as many as 3 million Cambodians died out of 8 million. Wherever you come from, imagine if more than 1 out of every 4 people in your country was killed, and by your own people. That is what happened in Cambodia.
You ask how they can happen. They can happen because people forget they've happened before. So that's the point. We need to teach it because when it happens again, and it will happen again someplace, we need people to know this can go this way. There can be a genocide. There can be crimes against humanity. Unless you're taught that, you might fall back into that comfortable way of thinking that people can't do this to each other. And you'll let it go too long before you stop it. Has to be taught. So my calculation always was roughly that there's 2% of the population that is psychopathic. Another 15 to 20% are just rascals. They don't believe in genocide. They're not driven by racial hatred, but they see it as a way to make money and be in power just personally. And those people surround the psychopaths and will support them. Then the other 80% of the population are just afraid, and they'll do as they're told, and they'll follow that 20% leadership.
How are you, man?
Very dapper here. It's a good look for you.
Thank you, man. Good to see you.
Oh, look at this. How are your kiddos? Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello. How are you? This is it looks like a reunion. It's a reunion, yeah?
Feel like a cross-country or track reunion? Is that what it is?
Both.
She was just telling me she wants to start running again. She ran yesterday without you.
I used to run.
Not always the same without Gilbert, man.
No, it's
Hello.
I need a shovel.
All right. All right, ready?
you doing? Good to see you.
I'm not gonna hug you.
That's all right. Hello, Molly. Hello.
I'm starting, handing to you. You're handing to Courtney. She's introducing the video. Okay. And so you'll hear.
Mine is. It's a very.
Well, no, you're if they ask. You know, you'll fill in any piece that I don't know. You know why? You might be fan, and you knew what that meant.
What is a big fan? I was like a best friend forever.
Brother from. My name is Pete Rauch. I am the president of the board of the Gazelle Foundation. I'm a co-founder of the organization, and I want to first personally thank all of you very much for joining us this evening. In 2009, we did our first project. We are now up to 44 projects that have had provided water for 89,500 people in a small area in Songa, Burundi. So thank you very much for your efforts in programming. Okay, I'm going to have Gilbert come up. I've known Gilbert for too long. And I've got a date here. I've got to look it up to make sure I get it right. March 25th, 2006. I call it the Gilbert Mafia, and a lot of us are here because of our association with this man, but I'd like to impress upon you that the likely first thing he'll say is it's not about Gilbert, it's about changing lives in Burundi. And I encourage you to join me in welcoming him to help other people gain access to clean water in Burundi.
As you can see, I'm really smiling because he texted me a minute ago with the hashtag BFAM. I'm like, what is that? What is that? Brother from another mother. He just told me minutes ago. I didn't know what it was. It's my pleasure to be with you tonight. It's very moving to see all of you coming to support the Gazelle Foundation, our mission, which is very simple, to give clean water. Growing up in the Burundi, in the mountain of Fuku, in the commune of Songa, province Burundi, it was the best experience of my life. It was not easy, but it was a lot of fun. My daily routine would be getting up in the morning, go fetch the water. After I drop the water, I run 6 miles to school. Run, walk. It was climbing a huge, huge mountain. Even my neighbors, the Hutus, the Twa, I was always nice. I was always nice to everyone. So everybody kind of, loved me, maybe. And then I would stay to school for a whole day. I would stay and play with my friends, soccer, cards, you name it. Something to make the time go by. One of the things that stuck in my memory is the story that I had, one of the chant that I had, learned from my brothers and my older brothers and neighbors. Every time we see a rain, we will run fast, and to get to distract each other, we will sing. One of the songs was a song about a lion. Here we go. Yongwe to you sick, Yongwe to you fat, Yongwe ngia himbere, Yongwe. Just kind of singing much, so you're breathing, and before I know it, I was home. It was a lot of fun. There was a two component about the song. The song was about, to inspire, you have kids that are slow, you have kids that are fast. How do you get everybody to run together? How do you keep we call it a team. And in every family, mothers or dad, they would tell kids, don't ask help a stranger. It's a 6 miles of walk. You have neighborhoods along the way, and some can be mean, some can be nice. But because unknown, parents would tell kids, don't ask help a stranger. You see a rain, beat the rain, run fast. It's a chant it's about a lion and a runner. So the whole idea was, I am a fast and a lion. Lion cannot catch me. I'm strong, I'm fast. My goal was, I'm gonna keep running. I'm gonna keep studying. In fact, the day that I got attacked, I was going to study. That October 1993 is the day that I will never forget in my entire life. That day, I thought it was going to be a great day. It turned out to be the worst of my life. That day, I turned on the radio, it didn't work. And I knew when the radio doesn't work, it's a sign that is a coup d'etat. I went to class. I was so nervous. I had this teacher who hated me. He hated the Tutsis, and I didn't know why he hates me. So his name is Firmat. It was the head, ended up being the headmaster. When I went to class, the teammates, a Hutu, who was really what I call my friends, he lived nearby the school, and he came, he said, I'm like, what is that? Tonight I'm gonna cut your throat. I said, why? You killed our president. And I had no idea, man. I didn't know the president was killed, but I got scared. You have your best friend saying he's gonna cut your throat. The stuff I've been ignoring during the campaign is coming to life. It was a group of people walking towards the school with spears and machetes and big stick. They're coming to attack the school. My favorite teacher, he was running. Like, he said, watch out today, we're going to be killed. They just took two of our teacher. They are taken to a place where they're gonna burn everybody alive. I'm like, that's not gonna happen. Nobody's gonna touch me. I've done so great. I ran for the school, I'm a national champion. Nobody's gonna touch me. We went in the class, no teacher, nobody. Finally, a physics teacher said, we are going to die. The headmaster looked me in my eyes and he said, he meant everybody, but he was looking straight in my eyes. He was like, you are going to see what Jesus saw on the cross. This is where you started thinking, how am I going to escape? I can't run. If I run, I get killed. They're already prepared. The whole school has been surrounded. How in the world I'm going to get on this situation? The best solution is to stay with the students, stay with everybody, fight together. We don't know what to do. We're like, let's escape here. Nobody's gonna touch us. If we walk peacefully, no fight, because we can't stay here. We were like a 2K into the walk, going 26 miles. They stop us. And when they stop us, they say, stop and go back. They draw a line in the middle. If you cross this line, you're dead. Everybody ran it this way. I ran to the left, thinking I used the forest. There was a forest to the left. I would use this forest to get away. And think about 500 kids trying to go different direction. Every kid that followed me, we end up being trapped because everybody was after me. With arrows and spear, like stop, go back to school. Of course, I didn't have any accusation. I didn't have any guilt. I was like, you know what? I've done great stuff for the school, let me go back. At the same time, they are cutting me ears, they are chopping my teammate, the kids, 8th grade, 7th grade, I was in 12th, I was in 13th grade. And we walk in and they started taking our clothes off. If you have a nice jeans, they give it to me. If you have nice shoes, give it to me. Then we get to a place where they started roping everybody together. 11 people to my left, 11 people to my right. They will rope around here so you kind of don't move. The headmaster, he locked me in the building, thinking, you know what, take everybody to the fire, and I have a special torch for this kid, for Gilbert. Earlier on, he said, I'm gonna see what Jesus saw on the cross. What is the special torch? Is he gonna crucify me? Should I resist? You have a million things going on in your head. People outside started getting really angry, and they're like, we want Gilbert to be treated the same. He has to go to fire. And I was like, okay. kill me. There's nothing I can do. They created the strongest man around to beat on the neck. So everybody that gets inside the fire, you're paralyzed. So when they set the fire, there's no way you're gonna move. This kid, his dad was general in army. He thought his dad would come and rescue him. He said, I'm not going to fire. Because he had choices. They said, either we chop you in pieces or get in the fire. And they would form like a funnel. Like this person misses you, this one misses you. This misses you, this one misses you. And what saved me, that kid, when he refused, they started chopping my friend. They chopping in my eyes. He scared me. I jumped. And forced myself to jump in the building. And the rope came loose. And I kept pushing the crawled straight in the building. And so I landed them. And as soon as I got there, they light the building. I witnessed my friends, my classmates, and my teammates dying one by one. And I was waiting for my turn. I remember after 8 hours, I couldn't take it. I wanted to kill myself. I wanted to suicide myself. As you can see here, as you can see these arms here, I was trying to cover my head because the fire was coming from the roof. And as you can see also here, and this was bad right here. And my back is the same. Start accusing myself. I didn't go to church, that's why I've been punished. I look in a room, I'm the fastest kid in the country, I'm in a fire. I try to run, they catch me. If I can ask for forgiveness, maybe I'll be forgiven. Sure enough. As soon as I finished forgive me, I came up to a million ideas. I took a dead body, I broke the window. The window was a bunch of bars that you need to break one and your head will go through. I broke one and I was scared. They were outside chanting, celebrating massacre, and I was determined to get out. Then I grabbed the bar, it was hot, leg first, and I landed on the outside. I looked at the people around me, dead. All look the same. You can't even recognize. I just recognized who was here. In my mind was, I'm gonna tell this story. I'm gonna remember these kids. I'm gonna remember Elizabeth. I'm gonna remember Magnifique. If I get up, I'll be able to testify. I'll be able to tell what I witnessed.
You need to have a domestic politics aroused, engaged by these issues. That's why they need to be covered, they need to be described. When the word genocide applies, it needs to be applied, or human rights violations, or crimes against humanity. Those words get used a little bit too often. When they are used, they should be used deliberately. There's a situation we could not tolerate.
I think one of the things that genocide requires is the dehumanization of a people. There is a propagandization, a brainwashing that renders the aggressors to believe, to be firm in their commitment that their victims are not human.
So we had a rough rule in Bosnia. We called it the 1030 rule, which we applied. In any community, if minority was smaller than 10%, they were safe because they're not seen as a threat to the majority. If they were more than 30%, they were safe because they could defend themselves. So that 10 to 30% range where you saw violence happen when there's no rule of law to stop them and people are feeling threatened.
At this point in world history, we have more refugees and displaced people than we have had since World War II, and arguably we're well past that point. At this point in time, I think there are 65 million or so displaced people and refugees worldwide. Less than 1% will ever be resettled to a third country, not to the US, to any country. And so it's really a needle in the haystack, winning the lottery kind of chance that any refugee has of being resettled. It's not something they can count on generally. And that's a hard reality to face, I think, as a person and as a human. And I think for us as Americans, but also humans ourselves, we have to be able to understand, and I think we do, the position then that families are in if that is their only choice in life. You know, it's stay in a refugee camp or try to be resettled or go back home where I know I will die.
A refugee needed to be sponsored by a family, by a church, by a group of people, or by an organization. And I was sponsored by a family. They did not know me, I did not know them, and they took me in out of the goodness of their heart. Yeah, after I picked apples in Wallingford, I felt I ate enough apples to last for a lifetime. Then I went to work for Friendly Ice Cream. I was trained to be the manager, but I had to learn how to cook hamburgers, to scoop ice cream, wash dishes, sweep floor, everything. I never seen a hamburger in my life. And I was working in the grill, and suddenly I was hearing rare, medium rare. And I was holding the lettuce, and the trainer said, "Hold the lettuce." I didn't understand. It took me a while to realize that she didn't want me to put the lettuce on the hamburger. And I said, "Oh my goodness, this is very difficult." And then at the cash register, the dimes are smaller but worth more than the nickels. It's very confusing. I said that I had to move on. So New York, January 1977. I stood at the corner of a street in Manhattan, and all these yellow checker cabs coming down with the signs at the back, drivers wanted. So I called, and they asked me to go and take a test. It's all about directions. How do you get from the Waldorf Astoria to Yankee Stadium, for example? I had no idea where these places were, so I just checked the boxes. At the end, I brought the sheet to the examiner. He looked at the boxes, he frowned, he looked at me from head to toe, he shook his head, and then he said, "You passed." So I became a taxi driver, applied to a number of schools. Then I got a scholarship to go to Columbia. I was given a full scholarship for a Master of International Affairs. In the meantime, I met Martha, as I mentioned, on September 15, 1977, and my life changed. She was the moon, I was the rabbit. She was the angel, I was the barbarian.
You would only get to admire her from afar.
Exactly. Well, I arrived here in 1976, and there was an election, presidential election. I was watching TV with my host family, and I did not understand what was going on. I saw these people wearing funny hats, jumping up and down the chairs, screaming, yelling, and shouting. And my host family told me, "This is a convention. These are delegates." And they turned to me and said, "Sichan, if you are interested in this country, you should get involved." So my chance to get involved was when after I became a U.S. citizen. It's a wonderful feeling. I felt I had a country. I can no longer be expelled from anything because I always have a country to go back. And after I met Martha, I have two states. I have two home states. Connecticut and Texas. I love Texas. I cannot get enough of Texas. So let's find his name. I think it's on the other side. I walk by right here. Robert McKinney. Yeah.
And he was?
He was one of Martha's ancestors. Yeah. And the other one was Colin McKinney, who signed the Texas Declaration of Independence. Yeah. I am one who believes that you want to have your voice heard, get involved. Just like what my host family told me in 1976. You want to understand this country, get involved. In 1988, we were living in New York, and I volunteered. I just wanted to be involved, so I did everything the campaign asked me to do, from making phone calls to stuffing envelopes, licking stamps. Those days, you send out information by post, and I just enjoy seeing the process. Well, you have to express your interest. Some people want to volunteer, but they don't want to work in the government, and I wanted to, so I wrote. Well, in fact, they send you, if you are interested in serving in your administration, please fill out this form, and I fill out that form. And the timing is important also. I had a friend, Chase Undermeyer, who was director of the transition personnel, later on became director of prison personnel. He saw my resume the time that they were looking for somebody of my background, somebody who can interact with ethnic groups, who knows a little bit international relations, who speak a few languages, and there I was. He told me later on that if my resume arrived 2 days earlier or 2 days later, I would never get that job because there are hundreds and hundreds of resumes. And when somebody asked him, he said, I have one here. They look at it, they like what they saw, and they asked me to go to Washington. In Bush 43, I also volunteered in this campaign, and the same process, you express your interest, and they need somebody who could represent the United States, and I arrived there at the right time, and I already spoke 5-6 languages. I could interact with French-speaking diplomats, Spanish-speaking ambassador, and I have already worked at the White House. I have spoken for the President of the United States and the American people. So it was the right time. It doesn't matter how qualified you are, how much money you have raised, how much work you've done. It's a combination of everything. Yeah, the United Nations was quite an experience because I had to interact with 191, 92 countries. When I walk in, my colleagues from those countries look at me and they saw America. They saw you, they saw America's strength, her greatness, and her future. Each time I pronounce on behalf of the President and people of the United States, that was my proudest moment. I cannot be thankful enough or being grateful enough for God to have brought Martha and me together, somebody, divine intervention. Because I was all alone by myself, and when I met Martha, my world changed. So we benefited from each other. Yeah, we were one. Yeah, when she passed away, I lost 2/3 of myself. Yeah.
Hey guys, let's do the warm-up drills. Right here. What's the next? Knee up, Trenton, knee up. Up.
Well, the first one's forward, the second one's backwards.
Max, up. Happy. 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 You can sing. Go ahead and finish.
Wait, Gilbert, are those new shoes? That's okay.
No, they're not new. I went to represent Burundi University in the Universiade, which is like Olympic for students, where all the colleges, students, they compete all over. And it was in Tokyo, in Japan. For the first time, I was like, you know what? When I was strong, I could make the team. But right now, I'm still wounded. God has a message here. He wants me to go spread the message. Give me a life again. Let's seize the moment. 96, I came here in Atlanta, Georgia. I came to train for the Olympic Training Center. I did a lot of research. I did a lot of homework. My homework, learning English, how to speak high and so on. I came here after two big major cities. Nairobi, Kenya, it's a big city, but it's not like USA. Guess what they took me to eat? From a country where there's no food, most people, maybe 30% are malnourished. You come to a country full of everything, full of food, convenience. McDonald's, took it to me, McDonald's. I spoke a little English. I think they wanted to, that was the best way to learn, to be honest with you. First time to place order. Everything has been given. Now I'm gonna order. Okay. The only thing I know was chicken. Okay, there's a number, I order chicken because I'm a chicken person. I order chicken, but still is a McDonald's and French frites, which is French fries. So there was this guy. I mean, heavy Southern accent. You haven't seen it, and he goes, "Here." But I'm looking at my friends. What does he say? They're laughing so hard, and he said, "Here you go." Here go, and here. Those are two words I couldn't put together. What he meant, and then my cousin, a second cousin, named John Paul, said, he meant here to go stupid. I get a visa to run in the Olympics and also a prospective student. So after the Olympics, I started learning English because we speak French and the Kirundi. So I had to learn my English. I had to pass the SAT, TOEFL. So I started taking ESL, English as a second language. I ended up in Abilene. Best choice ever. I could go on to a Division I, but Abilene had a lot to offer. You know, Abilene is a Church of Christ school, but the culture was amazing. There were so many international students. I loved the fact everywhere you go, they have a tradition. This won an 800, this won a 4x4, this team won a national champion. You will see them. My goal was one day, I want to be here. If my daughter or my son will come here or I come back, I'll always see that I made an impact in this school. So to me, it was really fun. It was a great experience, and I ended up winning a national champion. Wear all of them. How's that? And also, God does a miracle, man. That sometimes you don't have to question. Maybe I should wear all of them. How's that?
So when you were a little kid running in your village, did you ever think you'd be standing here with all of this?
No, no way. But my message to all of you, youngster up there, is to never give up. Don't give up on your hopes. I didn't even think I'll make it to the United States, but because of hard work and dream big, I made it. You can do it. This is what I could find from college. I have more than, I'm supposed to have 8, but
that's awesome.
This is pretty cool. Back in '99, before 2000, I went back to Burundi to see my family, to see my girlfriends, who I marry today. And I was like, I have to go back. And when I went back, I thought the tension was over. I thought I could go back and be a normal citizen and walk, because healing has to take place. It turned out that I was hunted. There's some people that wanted to kill me. They were not happy that I was alive. As soon as I landed here, I applied for political asylum so I can stay here so that I don't want to have to go back. Luckily, I was granted asylum, and eventually was to become a citizen. I decided this is my country, this is what I will raise my children. no more going back to Burundi. I can help, I can support, but no more going back. Coming to Texas, people were like, oh man, cowboy, Texas is so racist. Cowboy gonna kill you, man. They don't like Africans. Let me tell you, but I was always wanted to wear that 5-gallon hat. I love Texas. You're not cheating, you stay lower. We are going for what? 1 minute. Oh, God. I will change it up to the words. It's coming, it won't get you. It's coming from behind, in the front. We are strong, St. Andrew, we are amazing. Yeah. Kevin, you ready? Woo-hoo-hoo!
Young way!
Woo-hoo-hoo!
Young way!
Do you think?
Young way!
Do you fat?
Young way!
Yeah, him.
Young way!
Do you think?
Young way!
Yeah, him bed.
Young way!
Do you fat?
Young way!
Run the run.
Young way!
St. Andrew.
Young way!
We awesome.
Young way!
We're amazing.
Young way!
Woo-hoo-hoo!
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 Young way!
Do you think?
Young way!
Do you fat?
Young way!
Yeah, him bed.
Young way!
Yeah, him.
Young way!
Do you fat?
Young way!
Run the run.
Young way!
St. Andrew.
Young way!
We awesome.
Young way!
We're amazing.
Young way!
Super fast.
Young way!
Woo-hoo-hoo!
Young way!
Woo-hoo-hoo!
Young way!
Yeah! That's cool. We're done. We're done for the day. It took me years to come to a realization that I need to share my story. So the things that happen doesn't happen again. The horrible accident, the horrible massacre that happened in Ituri doesn't happen again. We gotta take the words to prevent it, because now many people know about what happened in Burundi. A lot of people know about Rwanda, but now many people know about what happened in Burundi. So it takes people like me to share the experience, to testify what I witnessed, what I saw, so people would learn about 1993.
A friend of mine, Manny Dawson, she asked me to go out and speak because people will benefit more from my experience, and I was very reluctant. I felt that I had to go down a very painful path, which I want to forget. I want to forget a painful past so that I concentrate on building a new life. But Manny didn't give in, and I said no, no, no. But she just kept on asking me. I said, Sichan, it would be better for you to write down before you forget it, and also to speak it out. So I started to speak out, tell my story in churches. Then it became easier and easier. It helped me out.
There are there's different data out there, but what we most often see is that families spend around 7 years in a refugee camp before they will be resettled. That, of course, means that there are families in that camps far longer than 7 years. But what happens during that time is that the United Nations is determining for what families there is no other durable solution, as in going back to their home country or integrating into that second country in theory, where the refugee camp is. For a lot of families, neither one of those are an option, and the only durable solution is resettlement to a third country. So that third country being the United States.
On that premise, I think the most important wisdom is already printed in our dollar bill, a pluribus unum, from many to one. So we are a great nation because we have great ethnic diversity. There are always new blood, new ideas, new creativity that they are born every day in our country, and that's what makes us strong. It's our ethnic diversity.
I think that, as a historian, my greatest fear is that history can be easily rewritten. It can be easily reinterpreted, and that it can be easily reconceptualized to political gain. As a scholar, we hold very fast and firm to evidence, to quantitative, qualitative, to what's in the archives, to what's in the libraries, and I think that we need to hold firm to that. I think that in terms of what's been happening recently in our discussion, of immigration, of refugees, is in some ways a coming to terms of the mythology that we have always held so true. That we are a nation of immigrants, that we are a nation of the enslaved, that we are a nation of people who are constantly working towards community and towards building a bigger, brighter future. But that is a constant battle, and that is a constant struggle. And I think what we're seeing is the contestation of how hard that struggle actually is.